You just say it already. Now you're making me worried. A knot formed in her stomach that was almost unbearable, knowing she was not ready and she was afraid. Saying the truth out loud will only suffocate her. She clamped her trembling hands together and finally looked up at him. The half-smoked cigarette slipped from his hands, forgotten on the dirty ground as he processed her words. His eyes widened as he stared in her eyes, searching if she was joking, and she would laugh, but nothing. If you are joking, you choose very wrong time. I'm not joking, Jungkook. I wish I were. Tears welled up in her eyes as she watched his shocked expression, the expression where it caught a person stealing something. His eyes were wide, the silence was heavy, and all she could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Are you sure? It felt like he couldn't even pronounce words from his mouth. I am. I take 2 tests and both were positive. Is it mine? Of course, it's yours. She finally said out loud and stared at him in disbelief. She was waiting for his any word, but he was silenced. At the first time, she hated silence. Are you going to stay quiet? I don't know what to say. He felt like his words was unraveling. He was still processing. His mind raced as he harshly rubbed his face with his hands. The reality of the situation hit him like a freight train. He wanted to cry, to scream, but instead he hid his face in his hands. Jungkook, I want to be alone. Her hands that were about to touch his shoulders stopped midway, and she gulped. She expected this kind of reaction. This is a lot to take in for her, then she knew he would react like that. Okay, she simply said, even though she wanted him to be with her. She wanted to discuss it with him. She wanted to make a decision with him, but it seems like this is not possible. She gave him one last glance before she turned around and started to walk away from him. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She couldn't afford to break down now. She needed to be strong. She couldn't let the tears fall, and she had to make a decision, even if she had to make it alone. Meanwhile, Jungkook leaned on the tree, his face still buried in his hands, wrestling with a storm of emotions. He felt like he was being hit by 1,000 different emotions at once, and he felt like completely in the depth of ocean, gasping for questioning how his life had taken this unexpected turn. He wanted to comfort Yoon, but he didn't know how to. The news she just told him felt suffocating. The harsh reality of the situation echoed in his mind, and got at himself for not being more cautious. Fear of the unknown, and he was rethinking the choices that led him to this moment. He couldn't ignore the overwhelming sense of being trapped in a situation he was not prepared for. He felt like he lost control of his life, and he was terrified of what the future held. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying to find a way to cope up with the situation, but he knew he can't do anything in this situation right now. Yin tried to compose herself as she wandered through the narrow street. She replayed the conversation, wondering if there was anything she could have done differently. She questioned her decision, wondering if she should have been more careful, or if there was a way to undo that's already done. Yun, wait. She abruptly paused at the sudden yell of her name and turned to see Jungkook running towards her. He stopped beside her, putting his hand on his knees, catching his breath. I know, we can walk. First, breathe properly. Jungkook took a deep breath, trying to normalize his heartbeat. Let me walk with you to your home. You don't really have to, I can go alone. She said and turned around, ready to walk away from him, but he stopped her again. Yun, please just let me. She didn't say anything, and Jungkook nervously bit his lips. Walking beside her, he glanced at Yun from the corner of his eyes. He wanted to say something to break the heavy silence that enveloped them, but the words elude him. They kept walking in silence until Jungkook realized her house was near, so he took a deep breath. Yun, I didn't mean to react that way. It's just a lot to take in. Yun didn't react, even though she knew how the news must be difficult for him to digest. She too took a whole day, hiding in a room, thinking about how everything was turning in her life. Jung grabbed her hand to stop her from walking towards her house. Yun looked at him, a little surprised, unsure of what he wanted to say or do. I don't even know where to begin. I never expected something like this, and my hair is still spinning from the news. I want to be there, I do. I'm just not ready for this kind of responsibility. I don't want to sound heartless, I'm not. I'm just lost. This hit me out of nowhere, and I don't know how to handle it. I want to be there for you, but I need time. She just stared at him, listening intently to his words. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the struggle to find the right words. I need to sort out my own mess first. I don't want to make things harder for you. I don't want to make any rash decisions right now. I don't want you to think I'm avoiding anything. I just need a bit of time to figure out how to be the person I need to be all in this. Can you give me that time? He asked, a little half. She saw fear and vulnerability in his eyes, so she finally took a deep breath. Okay, take your time. We can talk when you're ready. Thank you. She nodded and turned around to walk inside her house. They both knew their life was not going to be as easy as they thought. Sitting alone in the corner of the shop, Jungkook slapped the cup of noodles he had bought. The clock showed 2 in the morning, and he had not eaten anything since morning. His mind felt like a tangled mess. He was emotionally and physically drained. The amount of thoughts haunting him, he felt suffocated everywhere. He felt like drowning in his own thoughts. The fear of making wrong decisions gnawed at him. He was scared that he would screw everything up, and he was worried that he would ruin his own life and others too. His mind replayed the recent conversation. He really made her pregnant. He knew she was not lying. The fear in her eyes told him everything, and she had no reason to lie to him. But he's lying to himself, think everything going to be alright, or this is just a dream. He could wake up and everything will be alright. The thought didn't even cross his mind when he knew that he will finally get into a decision his life will be affected. He questioned his own readiness for the challenge ahead. The thought of becoming a father at such young age terrified him. He wondered if he would be able to handle the responsibility and provide the support needed. He just wanted to run away from his problems like he always did. When something happened in his house, his father said something to him, or he knew he's going to get yelled by his father, he just run away from there. Because he don't know how to handle any problem. Despite having his whole life as a problem mess, the noodles taste bland in his mouth reflected the chaos inside him. He was on the verge of breaking and tried to calm down, but he could feel the anxiety building inside him. As the time passed, he felt like it was getting hard to breathe. What are you doing here this late? Jungkook startled by the sudden voice. Looked up to find Jimin now taking the seat beside him. They were just classmates, nothing more. Jungkook knew Jimin was Yoon's friend. They were just classmates, nothing more. Jungkook knew Jimin was Yoon's friend, but for some reason he always received nasty glances from him whenever he was with Yoon. He didn't understand why. He didn't have time or inclination to engage with people and find out what they thought about him. He just needed some time alone. He spoke while looking at his cold noodles, and Jimin's irritation was evident on his face. He never liked Jungkook. Though he didn't interact much, he always felt a sense of unease around him. Jungkook was a loner kid in school who skipped classes, smoked, had rumors circulated about him. But Yoon tells him that Jungkook was not bad like people say, so Jimin remained neutral about him. I warned her about getting involved with you. I don't know what your deal is, but she does not need this stress right now. Jungkook tensed as it were. He didn't expect him to talk with him about Yoon, and the fact his tone is like he's judging him right now, he didn't like a bit. When you didn't want to label your relationship, why would you involve yourself with her if you're not willing to comment? Jungkook looked down, guilt started to creep within him, and he didn't look up. What does that make you, Jungkook? A guy who just wants to sleep around and not take responsibilities for anything? Jungkook glared shot up. His eyes met in Jimin and he clenched his fist. Anything but that. You don't know the whole story, Jimin. Don't make assumptions about me or my feeling. Jimin didn't budge from his race fight. Instead, he just looked at him with a poker face. He was angry at the fact that he backed off from having a relationship with her, making all his assumptions come true. He wanted everything best for his best friend. He knew how she is feeling, crying all alone, taking stress when she shouldn't. Look, Jungkook, I don't know what's going on in your head, but Yoon is going through a lot right now. She's pregnant and she's scared, and she needs you. Jungkook sighed. I never wanted to things get this complicated. I care about her. Jimin, I do, but I'm trying to make sense of everything. But if I made a decision that we both will regret later. Jimin raised an eyebrow, his expression softening slightly. Look, I know this is all mess, but this is not about you anymore. You need to figure things out and you have to do it fast. You can't let her hanging for long. This is going to affect both of your life. Jimin nodded his head. Closing his eyes, he knew Jimin was right. He had to make a decision and fast. Jimin, leave me, she whined as Jimin continued to pull her along with the cafeteria. Yeah, I'm hungry. And I don't want to go to the cafeteria. The food smells make me want to vomit. Ah, girl, you are so moody. You look at him angrily, clenching her fist, and Jimin eyes widened when he saw her expression. Oh damn, I'm sorry, I was kidding. Do you want to eat something like you did, little pie muffin? He said cutely, tickling her on the chin, but he threw up in the mouth a little at the cringe name he just called her. Judging by Yun's face contorted in disgust, he knew she cringed too. I will just get something for you here. Don't go anywhere, okay? Yun rolled her eyes but nodded, letting Jimin go to grab some snacks. She just stood in the hallway, her hands subconsciously resting on her stomach, and she closed her eyes. Are you okay? Startled, she opened her eyes to see Jungkook standing there with a concerned expression. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Nervousness gripped him, feeling his throat tighten as he tried to find the right words to start the conversation. He didn't want to mess up like last time. He shifted his weight from one foot to another, nervously running his finger through his hair. I've been thinking a lot about everything. It's a lot, you know. I don't even know where to start, but I know we need to talk about it. He scratched his head, nervously avoiding direct eye contact. I've never been through something like this before. I mean, we're just 17 and this is huge. I didn't expect any of this to happen and I'm scared. I'm scared because I don't know what to do. I'm scared that I messed up everything. He paused, looking down at the crown gilt edge on his face. I know I said some stupid things before and I should have been more careful with my words. It's just everything is so messed up and I don't know how to fix it. I don't even know if we should keep the baby or not. I don't want to make the wrong decision, you know. He fiddled with the hem of his shirt. The weight of the situation making him feel smaller than ever. I've been thinking a lot about us, about you, about this baby. The word baby felt heavy on his tongue and he paused, searching for the right way to express himself. I just don't know how to be a father. I don't know if I'm ready for this, for any of it. But at the same time, I don't want to leave you alone in this mess. I don't want to run away from my responsibilities, but I also don't want to mess up everything. I wish there was a manual or something, you know, a guide on how to handle all this, but there is not, and I'm lost. He felt like feeling a lump in his throat. Jungkook glanced at Hyun, seeking some sign of understanding or reaction, but her expression was unreadable, so he continued and kept stumbling on his words. I'm not sure if I'm capable of being what you need right now. I feel guilty for making you feel used, and I don't want to be the guy. He sighed, frustration evident in his face. I know I should have been clear from the beginning, but I was confused and I didn't want to make things harder for you. Now it's like we are standing at the edge of a cliff and I don't know if we should jump or turn back. He nervously scratched the back of his head. I don't want to pressure you into anything, Yun. We are just guests and this is so much to handle. But I also don't want to abandon you. I want to be here for you even if I don't have all the answer. I need your help to figure it out. Jungkook finally looked up to meet her eyes. His gaze was pleading to make her understand the vulnerability in his eyes. Something tugged at her corner. I know you're scared, Jungkook. I'm too, but I don't have all the answers either. This is also overwhelming and I don't know how to comfort anyone when I'm feeling just as lost as you are. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. She nervously looked at Jungkook, her hands fumbling in her bag. Jungkook observed her confusion etched on his face until she put out something. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. I don't know what your decision is, but I went to the doctor. I was confused, but I have this. She grabbed his hand and placed something on his hand. Jung looked at her confused, but when his gaze shifted to the picture, a sonogram to be exact, his body froze. She took a deep breath and pointed at the small sack on the picture. This is the baby. The doctor said I'm 8 weeks pregnant. There is no visible bump yet. She hesitated, her eyes fixed on the sonogram. A pang of guilt tugged at her heart. She couldn't fathom the idea of considering an abortion when there was a tiny life forming inside her. Jungkook's gaze was fixed on the sonogram and he studied the image. A wave of emotions washed over him, the vulnerability in her voice and the sight of the tiny sack stirred something within him that he had not expected. I thought about a lot of things, including, but when I saw this, I couldn't help but feel guilty for even think about the abortion. Tears swept up in her eyes, but she blinked them back. Jungkook looked up at her surprise. He never knew she thought about that option, and he felt more guilty of how he left her all alone struggling with all this when she needed him. I don't know how do you react, and I was scared, but seeing this, I can't imagine not giving this little life a chance. I had no idea. I never meant to make you feel this way. I hate myself for not being there for you when you needed me the most. These past week you were going through all this alone, and I didn't know. His voice wavered and he cursed himself for not being more perspective, for pushing her away when she needed support the most. I didn't want a relationship, but I didn't know. I had no idea about any of this. I asked for time when you needed me. I should have been there. I should have been there for you, Yun. He ran his hands through his hair in frustration, his guilt manifesting in every word. I'm so sorry. Jungkook, we all make mistakes. It doesn't mean you start hating yourself. I appreciate how you are honest with me about how you are feeling. I really appreciate it. You know, I didn't expect you to be understanding, but I was wrong. Maybe we can figure it out together, or do you need more time? Jungkook took a deep breath. You are right. I don't need more time. I don't want to fight anything anymore. I want to make things right. I want to be there for you, for us. I want to be better for you and for our baby. I can't promise that I have all the answers or that it won't be difficult, but I promise to be there for you. I won't let you face this alone. A smile appeared on her lips. She was a little relieved and surprised. She thought that when she told him about baby, he might abandon her. She had been preparing herself to raise the child alone. Now there was a glimmer of hope that maybe everything would work out. You won't leave me, right? No, I won't leave you. I'm not perfect, Yun, and I might make mistakes along the way. I should be the one thanking you for giving me a chance to make things right. I promise I will try not to disappoint you this time.